أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. This is a topic on pride and humbleness. There are two conditions of the heart. Pride, takabbur, to think of oneself to be good, to think oneself to be better than other people, and to belittle other people. That is called pride. The opposite of that is humbleness. Person, he counts himself lower than other people, and the sign of that, and the truth comes in front of him, or it may be against him, it may be harmful to him, but he accepts that truth. So that is humbleness. And the opposite of that, to think oneself to be better than others and greater than other people. This happens when a person looks at his qualities. I have this quality in me, I have this quality in me. When a person looks at himself and he thinks he has this quality, and the other person does not have this quality, then this creates pride in a person. And opposite of that, when a person looks at his faults, when a person looks at his weaknesses, then that creates humbleness. I have this weakness in me, I have this weakness in me. Like outwardly, a healthy person and a weak and an ill person. The greater the illness, the more that person will lower himself. He knows he is in need of other people. He can't walk by himself, he can't get up by himself, he can't eat by himself, he can't go to toilet by himself, he can't dress himself. So he realizes. So this makes him humble, because he knows he needs help from other people. So more a person looks at his weaknesses, more he looks at his faults, to that amount he will become humble. When a person looks at his good qualities, or he thinks good qualities, and that will create pride in him. Somebody, he's clever in the class, and he gets top marks in the class, then, and if he does not have control over himself, he'll start to think of himself better. Somebody's doing hips, somebody learns very quickly, his hips is strong, his door is strong, and other students in his class, they are not so strong as he is. If he doesn't have control over himself, he'll start to think of himself to be better than other people. In the same way, worldly matters, somebody has wealth, lot of money. So if he does not have control of himself, because of the abundance of wealth, he will start to think himself to be better than other people, and so on. So the root of pride is to look at one's good quality. Shaitan, ana khayru minhu, khalaqtani min nar wa khalaqtahu min teen. I'm better than him. So this is a trait which destroys a person. He looks at this, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your fault stops you from looking at other people's faults. Instead of looking at other people's faults and weaknesses, one should look at himself. The weakness he has, the faults he has, and once a person starts to look in himself, then he will find uncountable faults in him. So nevertheless, the root of pride is to look at one's good attributes or what he thinks. I have this quality, I have this good quality, I have this quality. And the root of humbleness is to look at one's faults, weaknesses. More person keeps his eye on his faults and weaknesses, more humbleness will be in him. And vice versa. So, the extreme pride is, na'udhu billah, to take oneself to be God himself, the Lord himself. That's happened when Allah gives somebody a free hand. Everything happens according to his command. Everything happens, whatever he says comes to happen. So that goes to a person's head, and he starts to think I'm the Lord of everything. Whatever I say comes to happen. So that is the extreme. That man, being a human being, he forgets himself that he was born from a sperm, and then eventually we die and we turn into mitti and clay. But when Allah gives somebody free hand, Allah gives him control, power, and things starts to happen according to His command, then he forgets himself, his originality, and he starts to think to the extent of claiming that I'm the Lord, I'm the one worthy of worship. So human beings have become like that also. And as a sample and example, Namrud, Fir'aun, they were human beings like other human beings. But Allah gave them free hand. Allah gave them power and control. Things used to happen according to their command. So this went to the head. They could not control themselves. And they claimed to be Lord God, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, as mentioned in Quran Sharif. So according to the person's capacity, that whatever he thinks has good quality, that amount, it will create pride in him, and eventually it will destroy him in this world and the hereafter, as we can see from these examples. The very same people, what great power, things used to happen according to the command and order, how they were destroyed in this world and the hereafter. So the outcome of pride is destruction. For some time it may happen, things according to His command, people admire him, people think he's a very great person, people fear him, but the end result of such a person is destruction in this world and in the hereafter. So nevertheless, this is an example of extreme amount of pride, that claiming to be God himself, claiming to be Lord himself. So Namrud, he was amongst these people. Ibrahim alayhi salam, for some need had to come to him to get some grain. There was a famine, and Ibrahim, other people were according to what he wanted. People used to do what he wanted, but Ibrahim alayhi salam, there was a prophet at that time, or he may not be a prophet at that time, but Allah had given him understanding. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. So Ibrahim alayhi salam did not bow to him. Ibrahim alayhi salam did not give in to him. Ibrahim alayhi salam debated with him and did not accept what he said. So now there was a debate between Ibrahim alayhi salam and Namrud. He was defeated in that debate. So out of rage, he went one step further. It's mentioned in Quran Sharif, Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahim fi rabbihi an ataahu Allah al-mulk. Qala Ibrahim rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumeet. Qala an uhyi wa umeet. Qala fa inna Allah ya'ti bi shamsi min al-mashriq fa'ti biha min al-maghrib. Fabuhita alladhi kafar. So first Ibrahim alayhi salam said, my Lord is one who gives life and who takes life. He said, I do this also. He brought two prisoners, and he freed one, and he slain one, chopped off other person's head. He said, look, I freed one person, I gave him life, and I took life off the other person. So according to what you have said, it is my act. So I am the Lord. Ibrahim realized that he doesn't understand the meaning of giving life and taking life. Ibrahim said something which was more obvious, that my Lord is one who brings the sun from east. You bring it out from the west. So it was not in his control that he commands the sun to come out from the west. Is he going to come out from the west? So he became flabbergasted, and he did not know what to answer to Ibrahim alayhi salam. But people who have power, when they are defeated in debate, then they go one step further. Rather than accepting, they go one step further. They start to become more extreme. So this is what happened with him. बस उस वक्त नमरूद ने कहा, so kibr starts from small age. children in the house, if some child, they become more asserting on the other smaller brothers and sisters because I'm older than them, and because of that, or more stronger than them. So when a big person is not careful, or the parents are not careful, the kibr starts to creep in from small age, and as he grows, it grows with him, it increases with him. उस वक्त नमरूद ने कहा, मैं इब्राहिम के माबूद से ज़रूर जंग करूँगा. Such a person that he did not believe in all the time. Usually most people, they believed in Allah Ta'ala, they may associate partner with Allah Ta'ala, they may worship other things, but nobody refused the existence of Allah Ta'ala. But even then some people like Namrud and Fir'aun, and also such some people that they went to the extent of not even accepting the Creator, Allah Ta'ala. So he was one of amongst them. So Namrud said to Ibrahim alayhi salam, I will wage a war with your Lord. I will fight with your Lord and defeat him. और एक आलिशान कसर बनाने का हुक्म दिया. And he commanded his ministers to build a very high palace, जिसकी तामीर बाबुल की ज़मीन में हुई. And it was built in Babylon, which in Iraq, because he was from Iraq. So in the city of Babylon in English, that building was built. उसके बाद 4 करगिस फराहम किए. Then after building the palace high, he acquired 4 swans. जिनको गोश्त और शराब पर तरबियत की, and they were nurtured by giving them meat, minced meat, and alcohol. So they were brought up with, meaning they were made to become strong and big. यहाँ तक कि उनकी कुव्वत निहायत कामिल हो गई, and they were nurtured to the extent they became very strong, that capable of flying and pulling a cart with them also while they were flying. Nowadays, like we have aeroplane, so that was his aeroplane. उसके बाद लकड़ी का एक संदूक बनाया. Then he had a cart made, और उस संदूक में एक दरवाज़ा ऊपर की जानिब रखा. So he had a cart with a cover on the top like a roof, but the roof was openable, that it can be opened from the top. और एक दरवाज़ा नीचे की जानिब. So it had 2 doors, one in the roof, one in the bottom side. और किरगिसों को अव्वल भूखा रखकर उस संदूक को उनके पांव से बांध दिया. So after nurturing the swans and making them big and strong, swan English में क्या कहते हैं? Like the big, the birds, but they fly very high. Swan ऐसा कुछ ये है. Geese, हाँ, geese, ये. Because their swans don't fly. The geese, so he nurtured 4 geese and nurtured them on meat and alcohol. They became strong, and then when the time came for them to fly, he kept them hungry for some time. And then he meaning his workers, they tied the cart to the legs of these 4 geese, so that when they fly, they can pull the cart and it will fly with them also. और संदूक के ऊपर एक लाठी में गोश्त लटका दिया. And he took a stick and he tied some meat into that stick in front of the geese, so that in an attempt to get to the meat, they would go forward and they would lift the cart, and it would fly with them. उसके बाद नमरूद संदूक के अंदर आया. After that Namrud, he came into that cart और अपने साथ एक कमान और 3 तीर लिए. And he took with him 1 bow and 3 arrows. और अपना एक वजीर अपने साथ लिया. And he took one of his ministers with him also, जिसकी अक्ल पर एतमाद रखता था, upon whom he relied that he is a reliable person and whatever mashwara he will give, it will be a correct mashwara. उसके बाद किरगिसों के लिए गोश्त खोल दिया. So after that he opened up the meat so that the geese, they can see the meat. So it was like so this is the cart and the meat is on the stick like that. The meat is here, so the geese seeing the meat, they would attempt to go to the meat, and in doing that they would fly, so the meat would go forward and they would move forward also. बस वो गोश्त की लालच में ऊपर चढ़े. So seeing the meat on the front of the cart, to get to the meat, they started to fly, and the cart started to fly with the geese also. और इस तरकीब से उनके पाँव बांधा और संदूक में सवारियों के हवाई जहाज की तरह ऊपर उड़ा. So because the cart was tied to the legs, when the geese started to fly, the cart also started to go upwards. एक घड़ी बाद नमरूद ने अपने वजीर से कहा कि ऊपर का दरवाज़ा खोल. So after they started to fly, after a while he said to his minister, advisor who was with him, open the door of the roof of the cart. चुनांचे उसको खोलकर आसमान की तरफ निगाह की. So the door in the roof was opened and he started to look into the sky. तो उसको अपनी शक्ल पाया. उसको अपनी शक्ल पाया. फिर नीचे का दरवाज़ा खोलकर ज़मीन को देखा. So he found the sky as it is, like we see from the earth. He saw the sky in the same way. Then he commanded him to open the bottom door of the cart and look at the earth. तो उसको दरिया की गहरी तह की तरफ पाया. So that when they flew up, like we fly in an aeroplane, and when we look down to when we reach certain amount of height, we don't see anything, no homes, no house, no anything. We just see a plain land. So in the same way, they had reached so far up that they could only see the land. और पहाड़ धुएं की तरह नजर आए, and the mountains, they seemed like smoke. फिर दोनों दरवाज़ों को बंद कर दिया. Then both the up and bottom doors, they were closed. और थोड़ी देर बाद जबकि करीब था कि किरगिज थकान की वजह से हलाक हो जाए, फिर दोनों दरवाजे खोले. So they went up more. So it was near that the geese they became exhausted and they might stop flying. Then he commanded to open the doors again. फिर दोनों दरवाजे खोले. बस आसमान को देखा तो अंधेरा सा मालूम हुआ. When he looked at the sky, it looked like smoke and dark. और ज़मीन को देखा तो वो भी अंधेरी सी मालूम हुई. And when he looked at this earth, it became like smoke and a dark, as though nothing was to be seen. अलगरज वो चढ़ा जा रहा था कि एक फरिश्ते ने उसको आवाज़ दी. So he was going up, for an angel, he called him. वो दुश्मन खुदा कहाँ जा रहा है? वो enemy of Allah, where are you going? नमरूद ने समझा जिसने आवाज़ दी है यही आसमान वाला माबूद है. So Namrud thought that the one who gave the sound, he was the Lord of the sky. लिहाजा कमान को संभाला और तीर रखा और ठीक आसमान की जानिब सुस्त बांधकर उसको हवा में फेंका. So thinking that was the Lord of the sky, he took his bow and arrow and he put the arrow into the bow and he tried to strike. कुछ देर तो नजर से ओझल रहा, so the arrow it went out of his sight. फिर खून में लिथरा हुआ उसकी तरफ वापस आ गया, but then after it was tainted with blood and it came back to him. नमरूद खुश हुआ, कहने लगा कि मैंने आसमान वाले माबूद को कत्ल कर दिया. So looking at the blood into the arrow, he became happy and he said, I killed the Lord of the skies. और बास किताबों में मनकूल है कि फरिश्ते ने आवाज़ दी कि दुश्मन खुदा कहाँ जा रहा है. So the angel called him, O enemy of Allah, where are you going? तेरे और आसमान के दरमियान 500 बरस की मसाफत है. Between you and the sky there is a distance of 500 years. To reach to the sky you need 500 years, meaning you will not be able to reach the sky. फरिश्ते ने एक चिंगार मारी कि उसके सदमे से वजीर मर गया. Then the angel, he gave out a shout, and because of the sound which came, the advisor, the minister was with him, he had a heart attack and he died. उसके बाद जिब्राइल अलैहिस्सलाम ने उस संदूक पर अपना बाजू मारा तो समंदर में जा गिरा. And after that Jibril अलैहिस्सलाम, he struck with his wing onto the cart and it broke and fell into the sea. और लहरों ने उसको खुशकी पर ला फेंका, and the waves of the sea, it brought the cart onto the shore. बस नमरूद संदूक से निकला. जो हौलनाक बातें पेश आई थी उनके खौफ की वजह से उसकी दाढ़ी सफ़ेद हो गई थी. So Namrud, he was alive, he came out of the cart, but the experience he went through and the fear which gripped him, he changed his hair from black to white, meaning the experience was so extreme and so dangerous for him that his whole appearance changed. His youth turned into old age. और हक़ ताला ने इस कसरे आलीशान पर ठंड हवा को मुसल्लत किया. And the palace he had built, Allah Ta'ala sent fearful wind upon it. और जितने भी अराकीने सल्तनत थे उन पर हवा ने उस महल को गिरा दिया. And all the people who were near to the Namrud, the palace, the castle fell upon them and they all died. चुनांचे हक़ ताला फरमाते हैं फ़ख़र्र अलैहिम अस्सक़्फ़ु मिन फ़ौक़िहिम, कि उन पर ऊपर की तरफ से छत आ गिरी. The castle which Namrud had built was very high, and Allah's punishment came. قَدْ مَكَرَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَأَتَى اللَّهُ بُنْيَانَهُمْ. In the 14th para, Allah mentions this incident. It fell like a very big building. When it falls, all around it is destroyed. फिर नमरूद ने हज़रत इब्राहिम अलैहिस्सलाम को बुलवाया और उनसे कहा कि अपने रब से कहो कि आसमान से उतरकर ज़मीन पर आए. And Namrud called Ibrahim अलैहिस्सलाम, and he said to Ibrahim अलैहिस्सलाम, tell your Lord to come down from the skies onto the earth. It shows his ignorance. When a person falls into ignorance, like people of today, if you speak to them about God, the Creator, they start to laugh. They start to make joking sentences, because when a person becomes ignorant from these things, then he does take them as a fairy tales, and this is a fable, this is a novel. So like people of nowadays, if you mention to them these things, the Creator, how He created the sky, earth, dying and then being resurrected, and so they will laugh at all these things. Person, he loses connection with Deen, he goes very far away into the grip of Shaitan, and they don't even realize. They think these people are just joking and they're in a dream world. people who follow the deen, who are these type of things, who believe in the hereafter, so regarding such a people, they take it as a joke. So it becomes vice versa, opposite. That the batil, they think we are on the right path, and those who are on the right path, they take them to be on the wrong path, misled. ताकि मैं उससे जंग करूं कि बादशाहों का यही कायदा है. So he said to Ibrahim salam, tell your Lord to come down onto the earth, and I will fight with him, I will wage a war with him on the land, which is a common way between the kings of the world. बस अल्लाह ताला ने हज़रत इब्राहिम अलैहिस्सलाम पर वही भेजी कि नमरूद से कह दो कि सारी मखलूक में सोचकर जौन सी जिन्स को चाहे उसके लिए इख्तियार करे कि हम उसको उस पर भेजें. So Allah Ta'ala sent a message, wahi to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi that I don't need to come down. Out of all my makhluk, you choose any one makhluk to fight with you. They will come down upon you and they will destroy you. I don't need to come down. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُ. That you choose. Allah Ta'ala gives you option that out of all my armies, you choose any one army you want to fight with, and I will send that army to fight with you. चुनांचे नमरूद ने मच्छर को इख्तियार किया. So Namrud said, send the army of the mosquitoes. Mosquito को कहते हैं ना. So he said, send your army of mosquito to fight with me. क्योंकि वो सिर्फ एक निवाला खाकर मर जाता है. That this mosquito, it eats one morsel and it dies. बस हज़रत इब्राहिम अलैहिस्सलाम ने फरमाया कि बेहतर है तमाम अतराफ से अपने लश्करों को जमा कर ले. You say, fine, you collect all your army from all part of your land, and I will tell Allah Ta'ala you have to fight with the mosquitoes. और उनको ज़ीरा जोशन पहना दे, and get them ready, prepared, their armors and everything, like the army becomes prepared to fight with another army. और उस लश्कर से जंग के लिए तैयार हो जा तो ज़बरदस्त खुदा के लश्करों में से सबसे ज़्यादा कमज़ोर है. And Ibrahim said, prepare your army and get ready to fight with the army of Allah Ta'ala. Out of all the armies of Allah Ta'ala, the mosquito is the weakest of the army which you have chose to fight with. चुनांचे नमरूद ने सबको जमा किया जिनकी तादाद 4 फरसख मसाफत में फैली हुई थी. So he collected his army, and it was so many that they were spread over, I think, 12 miles. The army was so many people that their camps, they were spread in a distance of 12 miles. अजीज़ी कहते हैं कि ये इज्तिमा कूफा की ज़मीन में हुआ था. So this gathering of the army happened in Kufa, one of the cities of Iraq. पर जब वादे का मुअय्यन दिन आया तो मच्छरों का लश्कर समंदर से बरामद हुआ. So when the day came of the war, the mosquitoes, they came from the oceans. और उसने दोनों किनारों को घेर लिया. And there were so many that it covered the east and west of where Namrud was staying. So he covered all the area from east and west of the empire of Namrud. कि सूरज निगाहों से ओझल हो गया. That there were so many that it covered like a cloud, that it covered all the area, that the light of the sun would not come onto the ground, like heavy cloud daytime, if it occurs, then the sun gets behind it and we don't get the sunlight. So same happened, everything became dark. बस मच्छरों को अल्लाह ताला ने हुक्म दिया कि नमरूद के लश्कर पर फैल पड़ो. Allah Ta'ala commanded the mosquitoes to attack the army of Namrud, or उनको खा जाओ, and eat them up. Mosquitoes, they eat the flesh. बस मच्छरों ने जीरा व जोशन और हथियारों को खाना शुरू किया. So the mosquitoes, they started to enter into the armor and whatever they had with them, and they started to eat them up. यहाँ तक के गोश्त तक नौबत पहुँची. The mosquitoes, they went inside the armor of the army, they started to eat up their meat. और उनमें सिवाय हड्डियों के कुछ भी बाकी न रहा. They ate up all the flesh of the soldiers, and nothing of them was left except their bones. But सब के सब हलाक हो गए, and they were destroyed like that. उसके बाद हक़ ताला ने कमज़ोर मच्छर नमरूद की तरफ भेजा. After that the army, it was finished, the army, it was destroyed, but still Namrud was alive. So Allah Ta'ala sent one weak mosquito towards Namrud, जिसका एक ही पर था, and it only had one wing. और सारे मच्छरों में सबसे छोटा था. Out of all the mosquitoes, it was the smallest. बस वो उसकी नाक में घुस गया. So that mosquito, it entered into the nose of Namrud and went into his head. जिसका और सर की तरफ दिमाग में जा चढ़ा. So through the nose, it entered into the brain, into the head. चुनांचे नमरूद की हालत थी. So like you can say something in the head, it tickles, the person becomes irritated and uncomfortable. So this condition occurred to Namrud. चुनांचे नमरूद की हालत थी कि उसकी तकलीफ से बेताब होकर अपने गुलामों को हुक्म देता था कि उसके सर पर जूते मारे. Because the mosquito went into his mind and it would move around, so that you can imagine, so it made him bechain, it made him uncomfortable. So to settle that the mosquito does not move around, he commanded his people, his servants, to take a shoe and beat him on the head of his head. So when he strike on the head, then the mosquito for some while, it becomes quiet. It's like it stops from movement. So that would give him some peace of mind. That he commanded his servants and slaves to take. So it was said that he used to sit on his throne before this, and whoever could come in front of him, he would have to bow in front of him, make a sajda to him, and then he would sit in his place. But when the mosquito entered into his head, then instead of making sajda to him, there was a big shoe kept by him. So whoever came by him, he was commanded to take a shoe and beat him on his head. So Allah Ta'ala has said before that whatever the type of the person will do wrong act, Allah will punish him accordingly. So he was making people do sajda to him. Now the very same person is commanding people to beat him on the head. So when he was beaten on the head with the shoe, so because of the strike of the shoe, the mosquito would become silent for some time. So in that amount of time, he would get some peace. And then it would start to move around again, and that bechani would start to occur again. और उससे उसको आराम मिलता था, because the mosquito, it would become quiet, silent for some time, that would give him some peace. जब उसको मुद्दत गुजर गई और गुलाम जूते मारते मारते थक गए, because it's all a full-time job, so even the servants became tired of beating on his head. तो एक नौकर ने नमरूद के सर पर कुल्हाड़ा मारकर सर फाड़ डाला. So when the servants and slaves, they also become tired of doing this, so one of the slaves, he came, he brought the axe with him, and instead of hitting him with the shoe, he struck him with the axe and broke his head. और वो मच्छर जो चिड़िया की तरह मोटा होकर ये कहता हो बरामद हुआ कि दुश्मने खुदा की यही सज़ा है. So when the head was broken in two pieces, the mosquito came out, and by eating the flesh of his mind, it became the size of a bird, sparrow. And it was saying, this is the punishment of an enemy of Allah Ta'ala. और चल दिया, and the mosquito went away. बस हक़ ताला ने नमरूद और उसके लश्कर को अपने सबसे ज़्यादा कमज़ोर लश्कर के ज़रिए हलाक किया. So Allah Ta'ala destroyed Namrud and his army with the weakest of the armies of Allah Ta'ala, the mosquito. और उसकी रूह को जहन्नम और बीसल करार तक जल पहुंचा दिया, and his soul was thrown into the Jahannam. So this is the extreme. A person goes to the extent of claiming to be competing with Allah Ta'ala. So that's what is the result in this world. So this is the first type of pride that the person reaches in the world. This happened. These are some of the examples and samples of such a people. When Allah Ta'ala gives a free hand, allows them. So this is not usually good for a person, that everything happens according to his wish and desire, everything happens according to his command, so he may become happy and he may enjoy it, but usually it's detrimental and harmful to the person. It goes to his head and it destroys him, the pride. As these are some of the examples of Namrud, Firaun, and in time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Jahl, Umayyah bin Khalaf, these people. So what stopped them from accepting the truth? The pride that we are the leaders and we follow this person. So pride is such a thing. It stops a person from accepting the truth and following the truth, and the consequence and the result of such a person is very, very destructive, as this is one example of it. दूसरी किस्म तकब्बुर की, पैगंबरों पर तकब्बुर करना है. The second type of pride is to pride over the prophets, meaning not believe the prophets to be the prophets of Allah Ta'ala and not follow them. कि नफ्स उनको आम मुसलमानों की तरह एक इंसान समझकर अपने को बाइज्जत समझे. That people don't realize the qualities of the prophets and that they prophets to be just like themselves. That what normal human being has, they just look at those aspects: eating, drinking, sleeping, getting married, becoming ill. So common people have these in them. The prophets, they are human beings, they also have all these things. So they look at these type of things. What's the difference between him and me? Between him and us? He eats, we eat, he eats, we sleep, he sleeps, etc. So this becomes a barrier, and this stops from looking at the qualities of the Prophet, their great knowledge, obedience to Allah Ta'ala, and sabr, shukr, and hilm, etc. So they look at the open and obvious matter which is contrast with human being, and they don't look at the inner qualities which the Prophets have. उनकी इताअत से एराज करे. Because of that, they turn away from following the prophets. What's the difference between me and him? This becomes a barrier. जैसा कि अल्लाह ताला ने ऐसे लोगों का कौल नकल फरमाया. Allah has mentioned these people's saying concerning these people. وَلَئِنْ أَطَعْتُمْ بَشَرًا مِثْلَكُمْ إِنَّكُمْ إِذًا لَخَاسِرُونَ. यानी काफिर कहते हैं कि अगर तुमने इताअत की अपने जैसे एक इंसान की तो वाकई ऐसी हालत में तुम बहुत ही खसारे में रहे. So the leaders used to say to the people that if you will follow this person who claims to be a prophet, who's just like you, his needs are like you, then you will be at a loss. और कुफ़ार कुरैश ने कहा लौला नुज़िल हादल कुरान अला रजुलिन मिनल क़रयतैन अज़ीम. Rasulullah was made prophet. The leaders of the Makkah, they refused and they became arrogant and they started to argue. They said कि कुरान मक्का और मदीना दोनों शहरों के किसी बाअज़मत शख्स पर क्यों न नाजिल किया गया. If Allah wanted to make somebody a prophet, why did not make Allah somebody who would be a powerful person, and with his power he would make people obedient and follow the commands Allah sends down. So they argued in such a way. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said, if Allah, because the leadership was in other people's hand in Makkah Sharif, Walid bin Mughira, such a people. So they argued that if Allah wanted to make somebody a prophet, Allah would make a big person from Makkah or Medina Sharif or Taif, and with his power he would have made people obedient and follow the command. Qatada कहते हैं कि उस शख्स से मुराद वलीद बिन मुगीरा है जो मक्का का सरदार और अबू मसऊद सक़फ़ी है. So ala rajulaini, two persons in Makkah Sharif at that time. Walid bin Mughira, he was the leader of the people of Makkah, and in Medina or Taif, Abu Mas'ud Saqafi, he was the leader. मतलब ये था कि रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम से जो शख्स रियासत और माल में बड़ा हो वो नबी होना चाहिए था. They were trying to say that if Allah wanted to make somebody a prophet, he would have made someone who was a powerful person, powerful in his strength and powerful in his wealth. So by his strength and with his power, he would make people follow him. Like worldly leaders, they have power, and through their power they coerce the people to do what they want them to do. कि उनकी इताअत से आड़ ना आती. That if he's a big person, powerful person, then people, they don't take badly to follow him, and if somebody is equal to them, then people take it against their dignity, against their respect to follow such a person who's equal to them. क्योंकि वो कहा करते थे कि भला एक यतीम और 9 उम्र को हक़ ताला ने किस तरह मबूस फरमा सकते हैं. They used to say, because Rasulullah, when he was blessed for, he was 40 years of age. So 40-year person is a young person. And the leaders of Makkah, they were 60, 70, 80 years of age. So in front of them, Rasulullah was like a young boy. So they used to argue. And secondly, he was yatim. His father passed away. So usually when a person doesn't have father, then he doesn't have much strength behind him. So meaning he doesn't have strength, and he's a new age person. So if Allah wanted to make a prophet, he would make somebody who would be powerful, who had a big backing behind him, and who would be a mature and a aged person. बस हक़ ताला ने जवाब दिया, अहुम यक़सीमून रहमत रब्बिक, क्या ये लोग तुम्हारे रब की रहमत को तक़सीम करते हैं कि नबूवत भी उसके बांटने में आए जिसको वो चाहे. So Allah replied back to them that what have we kept in your hands, that whoever you say to be prophet, we make them a prophet. Meaning we have not left this matter in your hands. We have kept the soul in our hands. We know who to make profit, and we choose who will become profit, and we don't follow what you want us to do. और हक़ ताला ने उनके लिए एक ऐसी बस्ती वालों की मिसाल बयान फरमाई कि जब उनके पास रसूल आए, उस किस्से की तफसीर में उलमा ने लिखा है. And concerning that, Allah Ta'ala mentioned one story, Surah Yasin Sharif, وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا أَصْحَابَ الْقَرْيَةِ إِذْ جَاءَهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. So regarding that the condition was same as mentioned in this story. They were the disciples of Hadhrat Isa alayhi salam. Inshallah ta'ala, read next time. So nevertheless, that kibr is Amraz. Ulama call it the root of all the illnesses, spiritual illnesses and disease. And as we can see, those kibr destroyed the shaitan. So, and usually we think, I'm pure, I don't have pride in me, but these are such a thing, very, very delicate, very, very subtle, and a simple definition Rasulullah gave: two things. Two, not accept the truth. The truth comes in front of us, but we are not prepared to accept it, and we belittle other people, and we admire ourselves, we think ourselves to be good. That is a sign of pride, and the effect of that will come on a person's behavior with other people, and eventually this will destroy a person. So one should, alhamdulillah, kitabs we read, Hadith Sharif, Quran Sharif, these things comes over and over again. So one should not take it lightly. This is just like in physical illnesses, cancer and such illnesses are very, very serious illness. In the same way, pride is such a, takabbur is such a disease that it destroys a person, as mentioned, that these are the examples. Shaitan is the utmost example of kibr and the consequence of kibr. After that, human beings, Allah Ta'ala mentions over and over in Quran Sharif such a people, so that we take a lesson, we don't follow in the footsteps, and we try to clear and clean ourselves from this trait, so it does not destroy us. And the opposite of that, humbleness, tawazu, is a very good quality. That's the quality of the prophets. Adam alayhi salam, because of his tawazu, humbleness, mistake occurred, but he did not hold on to it, he did not argue, he repented to Allah Ta'ala straight away, accepted his mistake, and he was forgiven and entered into Jannah second time. Shaitan, he was rejected forever due to this trait of kibr. And Adam alayhi salam, he was saved and returned back into Jannah to the quality of tawazu. He lowered himself in front of Allah Ta'ala, fataba alayhi. Allah Ta'ala turned towards him and he was forgiven. So we are children of Adam alayhi salam. Our way should also be the way of Adam alayhi salam, that we accept our fault, we look at our faults, repent to Allah Ta'ala and try to correct them, and not debate and not argue, try to argue out our faults. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.